Thank you, Zimbabwe, for tuning into yet another informative edition of your program. This is Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, in support of Vision 2030, where we look at everything agriculture, be it business, finance, production, economics, time value of money, to mention but a few. Now, today we are going to be looking at the 2024 winter wheat production season, and we have taken the liberty to come all the way from Harare to Banket, Mashonaland West. We are here at Gombera Farm, and I'm going to be talking to Ross here on how they managed to establish a field, a sea of wheat we are standing in today. Ross, thank you for taking your time and inviting us to your place.
Thank you for coming out.
Yes. As we get into our discussion, Ross, I want you to talk to us in terms of the variety that you established. I understand that you have various blocks. Do you have the same varieties throughout? And also the soil types you have here at Gombera Farm, which support wheat production.
This year we have grown a variety of, a couple of different varieties. One being Marshall, a K2 variety, one being Nsima, an Arda Seeds variety, one being Induna, a Seedco variety, and one being W9101, also a Seedco variety. We've chosen to grow a series of different varieties this year, as last year we struggled with marketing our crop in terms of what they called yellow wheat. So we've undertaken to grow different varieties this year to see which ones will do best for our climate and our conditions, because we don't believe that yellow is simply a variety thing.
Okay.
It could be climate conditions, seasonal. It could be different aspects of the crop as well.
Okay. Yeah. Now, speaking of soil type that you have here at Gombera Farm, I also want you to align them to the mode of irrigation that you are using here. You would find that wheat generally in Zimbabwe is produced during the winter season, and in winter in Zimbabwe we have long periods of dry spells. We never have any rainfall. So talk to us in terms of the importance of irrigation, aligning it to the soil types that you have in your various blocks at Gombera Farm.
We have a variety of soil types here. A lot of it is clay loam soils. We do have some deeper reds, but not a lot of those. So how we do a lot of no-till practice here, zero-till practice, just to assist with conservation of moisture is the main thing. And we also find that also assists in weed pressure, although you do need to adjust your herbicide program accordingly. And then on our irrigation scheme, we use a lot of center pivots. But I also want to encourage everyone that has laterals and does not have center pivots to keep using laterals. They are still a very efficient mode of irrigation, and easy to work with. Just put your management in and you will grow a very good crop under laterals. We do use an old Seedco scheduling program with evaporation, and there's a chart where there's a curve on the graph, and it shows you as the crop needs more water, and your evaporation changes, you must increase your water according to evaporation. Alongside the chart, we also use moisture probes, which are a very good guideline. But in saying that, these are new technology, but the old graph runs very closely to these probes, showing that old research was still very efficient and effective. So that's how we do our irrigation program. We don't believe in light waterings. We like to give a good 30 to 35 mils. With the zero-till, it allows us to put heavy waterings, because you've got the mat of organic matter and the water doesn't run away from you quickly. So that's worked very well for us. The no-tills definitely worked in our favor with our irrigation program and how we like to irrigate. And we also find with giving decent amounts of water, if you happen to have a power cut or a load shedding, you're not trying to get back quickly because your water's wet your whole water profile. So that's how we found has been effective and worked for us.
Now, Ross, you'd find that generally when it comes to farming, there are new technological advancements, or those that may have been existing since time immemorial, but our Zimbabwean farmers might be shying away a bit from those because it takes investment. It takes embracing and understanding the technologies. Here at Gombera Farm, we are here today where we're witnessing aerial spraying using an aeroplane of you're protecting your wheat using an aeroplane. Can you talk to our local Zimbabwean farmers in terms of the importance of investing in this kind of technology or mode of crop protection, where you are investing and using an aeroplane to spray throughout your field of wheat? I understand that you have various blocks adding up to well over 1,000 hectares. Can you talk to us in terms of that investment, its importance, effectiveness, efficiency that comes with investing in aerial spraying?
So we undertook the task of fixing the runway about 3 years ago, so we could invest in this aerial spraying. So basically we've gone to our chemical reps and they've advised us which chemicals work best with low volumes of water. The aeroplane sprays with low volumes of water. And we found a lot of advantages to this. Firstly is the time efficiency. He's spraying 30 liters a hectare and he's carrying 1,200 liters of water, which means it means every load he is spraying 40 hectares per load. And he's capable of spraying 40 hectares in about 30 minutes. So his time efficiency is very quick. That's one. Number two is your effectiveness in the field in terms of not carrying disease throughout the field, because he's not making any contact with the crop, whereas a tractor boom sprayer, the tires are making contact with the crop. He's not spreading disease from one block to another. The next block. That's another thing. And the third thing that we just simply sat down with a pen and paper and looked and a calculator and we worked it out. We said your tractor is going to trample half a meter with this wheel track, and we took that over a hectare, and we worked out what wheat you'll lose over a hectare, and it actually pays for the aeroplane with change to use the aeroplane. So it actually works out cheaper just simply in trampling your wheat to using the aeroplane.
Now, Ross, given that you're a farmer, you've managed to do everything effectively, your agronomic practices, you've come in with your aerial spraying, your wheat is healthy. Now it comes the harvesting period, the harvesting time. Farmers end up most of the time losing their quality, the quantity of their produce, given that they might have employed poor management systems when it comes to harvesting, or poor planning in general when it comes to harvesting. Can you emphasize the importance of proper planning and investment in harvesting equipment when it comes to putting your wheat out of the field ahead of marketing?
Wheat has a very short harvest window. A lot of wheat only dries down beginning of October. Rains start end of October, beginning of November. So you've got a very short harvest window. So make sure that you've booked an efficient harvester, someone that is prepared to work long hours and get the crop off in time and efficiently. The next biggest problem with the harvesting is logistics. Make sure you have booked enough trucks and good quality trucks, because there's a lot of trucks where the boards leak. Make sure your trucks are of good quality. And my biggest advice to any farmer is boots in the field. Make sure you as the farmer are on the ground. You can't blame the management whilst you are not there. Make sure you are on the ground as well as managing your management. Make sure you've got a good management team in, but as the farmer, it's your investment. It's not the manager's investment. Make sure you are on the ground with your boots in the field.
Thank you so much, Ross, for that. I like the fact that you are the effect of managing your management, because at the end of the day, it is your investment. You are parting with capital injections to ensure that your venture is a success. As we round off, Ross, as we close, generally during the time and the periods where we harvest our wheat, we also experience periods of fire. Just in a snippet as we close, your word of advice to wheat commercial farmers in Zimbabwe. Most of them end up losing to wildfires, to veld fires. Your word of advice on way they can curb the risks that come with the veld fires.
First thing with fires is start your fire guards early. Burn fire guards in June, July, before August. August winds start coming up and you run the risk. Start your fire guards early in June. And although your insurance policies may say 8 meters, do it 15 or 20 meters. Because once the winds come in, an 8-meter fire guard is no good. And another thing also, we all have security guards on the pivots or on the lands. Ensure that they have good bases away from the fields, not close to or in the fields, because some fires happen from human error, and that is also a factor of some fires.
Thank you so much, Ross, for taking your time off of your schedule to come and talk to us and educate the Zimbabwean farmer on how to be profitable and sustainable in wheat production. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you for having me on the program.
There you had it, viewers. We are looking at aerial spraying, investing in such technologies so that as Zimbabwe, we maintain or retain the breadbasket position that we once had. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the second segment. Stay tuned. Thank you, viewers, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, in support of Vision 2030. We are looking at wheat production, and I'm coming to you from Gombera Farm, Mashonaland West in Banket, where we are looking at how they managed to invest in aerial spraying in this season, the 2024 winter wheat production season. Now, viewers, we encourage you to be a part of these conversations. Feel free to get in touch with the producer, Wadzanai Manyore, on 0772-807-506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page, Agribusiness with Wadzanai. Make a follow-up on this episode and more, and leave your comments and suggestions. They are most welcome to us. Our YouTube channel is Agribusiness with Wadzanai. We are also now available on X, formerly known as Twitter. It's at Agribusiness 110. Now, earlier on, before into the break, Ross here was emphasizing on the importance of establishing your fire guards in June, and also extending them from 8 meters up to even 15 meters to ensure that your wheat crop is well protected ahead of harvesting. We are now here in the second segment. I am joined by Liz, who's going to be taking us through the crop protection and crop nutrition. She is here in Zimbabwe working with NutriMaster. Liz, thanking you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Wadzanai.
Yes, looking at crop protection, at this stage we are here standing in this wheat, what kind of chemicals are they coming in with? Looking that we are experiencing a day where we have aerial spraying, meaning that they are spraying chemicals onto this wheat at this stage. Can you talk to us in terms of the chemicals that are most suitable, or the active ingredients that are important for wheat development?
Okay, so today I think they were saying that they're having issues with aphids, which is an issue in wheat, and you need to keep it in check every time. So they are applying acetamiprid, which will take care of the aphids. And then there's also a product called imamectin duo. I think we've spoken about it with imamectin as well as lufenuron. So that will take care of your worm complex. And then they're also spraying a fungicide. So we want to spray the first fungicide at around day 50. But from what I was discussing with Rose earlier, they're trying to sync everything because the plane is coming and it's doing the whole hectarage in like a day or two.
Okay.
So you'll find that they're probably spraying one land on day 45, the other day 50. And then that will then sync, and then we have our first fungicide application. The most important thing is to ensure that that comes in early before we have any disease establishment. So we're trying to protect our crop. And then there's also issues like your volunteer maize. I think you've seen here
Yes.
a couple of them are here. So they can also apply phenoxaprop, or the active ingredient phenoxaprop. But today, as they're applying acetamiprid, imamectin duo. They are also applying optistrobi, which is a fungicide, to ensure that they're covering both the insecticide and the fungicide.
Okay, now Liz, you find that as we were talking with Ross earlier on from the break, he alluded to the fact that here at Gombera Farm, they do have conservation agriculture, whereby they have no land till, and also it helps in conserving moisture and even some of the nutrients that are essential when it comes to crop development. Looking at crop development, what sort of nutrients are important, or even the supplements that our Zimbabwean farmers can take advantage of to ensure that they are enhancing their yield? There is a difference between a farmer who gets something like 5 tons a hectare and someone who comes in with supplements. It goes on to 7 tons maybe, or 8 tons a hectare. There is a huge difference, meaning in that they are coming in with maybe some micronutrients, some of the trace elements that might not be present in our granular traditional fertilizers. Can you talk to us in terms of wheat nutrition in wheat management and production?
So the NPK is always going to be a gospel. We're going to talk of the base fertilizers. The cereal blend, 350 to 400 kgs per hectare is sufficient at planting. And then you come in at between day 14 and 35, depending on whether you've got clay soils or you've got, sandy soils. If you're clay soil, then you can apply one application of your top dressing, your nitrogen. If it's sandy, you want to split it because you know the whole issue with leaching. So you might apply one at day 21, the other at day 35. But then there's also supplements, like you rightfully said. So boron is quite essential in your wheat. Potassium is also quite essential. So we've got a product also that's called Foliar K, which has got potassium and boron. So you get both the potassium and the boron as a foliar application. And then foliar fertilizers. So we're always emphasizing the trace elements, all the other trace nutrients. So you can use broad spectrum foliar fertilizers that are also available in the market.
Okay, aerial spraying is an investment. Not every Zimbabwean farmer can afford it, or some even do not have the knowledge of where to get this kind of services. They are not aware, which is the reason why we have taken the liberty of having this episode today. Can you talk to us in terms of the costs that are associated with a farmer investing in aerial spraying. For starters, we also have farmers who have maybe 100 hectares. Ross here was telling us that 40 hectares can be done in 30 minutes, meaning that it might not be cost effective for for the airplane to just come for 80 hectares or 40 hectares. You need to put yourself in consolidation or organize yourselves as farmers. Can you talk to us in terms of the advantages, or also how farmers can organize themselves within a region or an area or a ward or a district to ensure that they are also taking advantage of these technologies that are effective?
Thank you, Adza. I think like we've rightfully heard from Ross, this is quite efficient. So you can do a big area in a short period of time. And also you're protecting your crop from spreading the disease. So the disease here, you're not taking it to the next portion of the land. But like you rightfully said, it's too expensive for us. But shona ino tichara chimwe
Achiswanyi inda.
Saka isusu kana pana patiri apa inindine 100 hectares, umane 100, we're in the same area. It is also important that you reach out to the aeroplane guys and say, well, combined we've got 800 hectares here. Can you come and spray? It makes sense for them to then come out, because now you've got 800 hectares in the Mese Muripo. And you know what? The cost is only around $24 per hectare.
Okay.
Like if you tell people you're going to do aerial spraying, they will think, oh, this one is very rich.
Thousands.
You're going to spend a lot of money. But it's actually going to cost you around $25 per hectare. So even if you compare to your boom sprayer and everything, it's not that far off. It's actually quite efficient. It's one of the things that our farmers should tap into. So I would really encourage our farmers to come together. So Twitter my group said, please can you come? They'll definitely come, because if you're doing wheat, you are really a serious commercial farmer. If you're doing your maize, if you're doing any crop, any raw crop, really, you are a serious farmer. So you should be, innovative as to how you actually do your business.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for such a detailed presentation. There you heard it, viewers. Liz here was emphasizing and highlighting the fact that it is not expensive. Some people might shy away or even be scared of costs just by seeing an aeroplane that is flying past us and say, you know what, it's expensive, it's not for us. But here she's telling us that as farmers, you can organize yourself and take advantage of these technologies, given that they are efficient and effective. On that note, we're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the third and final segment. Stay tuned. Thank you, farmers, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, in support of Vision 2030. Today, we are coming to you from Gomera Farm, Rafingora and Mashonaland West, where we are looking at wheat production. And it happens that today they were having aerial spraying, whereby they were spraying their wheat field using an aeroplane. We are here in the third and final segment, where we are going to be looking at the nitty-gritties in wheat production. Liz, thank you for joining us once again.
Thank you, Adam.
Let us talk about queller beds. I understand that towards harvesting, when our wheat has now produced the tillers and even the head, we now have the threat of queller beds that come in to feed off of the wheat, to feed off of the capital intensiveness of the project that a farmer would have parted with money to ensure that he is productive and making a living off of his venture. But now we have queller beds. At times our Zimbabwe farmers come with scarecrows, with vuvuzelas, but here we are looking at aerial spraying. Can you talk to us aligning queller beds and aerial spraying?
Okay, so there are a number of chemicals that are available, but I think the most common one is anthraquinone, which is used as a bed repellent. And we're trying to apply it when the wheat is at its soft dough stage, because that's when the quilliers love feeding on
Yes.
it. So we apply it, then it sort of fends off the beds from the wheat, and then by the time they come back, the wheat has progressed and the birds don't feed on them that much. So that's the chemical that's available basically in the market. That's
Looking at the herbicides in wheat production, what are we looking at? What are those that are essential that also protect the wheat crop whilst taking care or removing or eradicating the weeds?
So I think the most popular combination is probably MCPA and bromoxynil. It takes care of a broad spectrum of broadleaf weeds. So MCPA at 2 liters per hectare, and bromoxynil at 1 liter per hectare is probably the most common. Other people come in with MCPA and Metri or Grand Star, which is a combination of tribenuron and metsulfuron as actives. And if you're applying that, you're also targeting broadleaf weeds, because this is a cereal crop. You're targeting the broadleaf. And then when you want to come in for the cereal or for the grass weeds, that's when you come in with the phenoxaprop. I think other people know it as Puma Super.
Yes.
Yes, it's been quite popularly used, and it takes care of your volunteer maize and some grass weeds as well. So those are the options that are available in the market when it comes to weed control.
Looking at fungicides, what are those maybe active ingredients that cater for certain illnesses, or some of at the time you want to curb, sort of like a curative measure before it even infests the entire field, or a preventative measure? What are we looking at in terms of fungicides?
So there are a number of triazoles, the likes of tridimenol. There's also fungicide like propiconazole that have been around time immemorial. And then we also have combination products like the Optistrobi that we spoke about earlier that they're spraying today. It's a combination of azoxystrobin and difenoconazole. And that is a broader spectrum fungicide. But normally in wheat, we want to apply 2 to 3 fungicide applications. So if you apply one at day 50, you probably apply another one at day 70, somewhere there. And then it depends now on what diseases you're having. Last season, there was an issue with septoria. And so you probably need to come in with a strong fungicide. And there are a number that are available in the market, but the likes of Prosper Trio was quite handy. Elatus Arc was also quite handy. Cherokee was also quite handy. So as a farmer, you need to have a program ready. You need to have your starter fungicide, and you also need to have the more aggressive ones when the disease is there, because then in that case, if you don't come in with a strong fungicide, you might actually lose your yield.
Okay, finally, as we close this episode, please, I understand that from wheat production, people transition into the summer cropping season. What are we looking at? Your word of advice in terms of that transition? Some will be getting into maize, soybean, tobacco, potatoes, etc. Can you talk to us in terms of that transition from wheat production to the main season, that is the summer cropping season in Zimbabwe?
I think the most important thing is when we talk of wheat planting dates, it's quite critical for people to understand that it's not just about the optimum times in terms of the units that we're trying to, in terms of the condition, the growing conditions that we're looking for the best yield of your wheat, but it's also going to coincide with your next crop. So if you stick to the recommended planting dates, your wheat is likely to be harvested well in time before the rains come, well in time before you have to put on your next crop. So there's sufficient time between operations for you to actually be able to do your wheat properly, and then if you're going into your maize, to go into your maize. And then your choice of herbicides obviously is critical. Plan your crop for the next one. If you're applying a herbicide, you need to ensure that there's no residual effects with the next crop that you're wanting to do. Not to then come and say, now I want to do potatoes, this one I applied that. And if you're actually asking, some farmers won't even ask, they will just apply and they'll just plant.
Yes.
And then now we go and we see phytotoxicity because there was a herbicide that was applied and the farmer did not plan for the next crop. So in terms of being a good farmer, you need to plan within the recommended windows. You need to plan for your next crop. If you're putting your herbicides now, remember what you're going to be planting, not just your next crop, next year. Do your programs in 2 to 3 years so that you'll be able to see what you're going to be doing.
Thank you so much, Liz, for taking your time and coming to Gombera Farm with us today, where we are looking at aerospraying of the wheat crop, a very healthy wheat crop that they established here. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
It was a pleasure being here, Wadzanai.
From me, your host Wadzanai Manyora, I'm also on Instagram. It's at Wadzi110, and the crew behind the scenes. Have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.